The Hoover Junior U1104 exclusive is done, and crikey, doesn't it look a whole lot different to how we saw it before I tore it down to its component form, washed, polished, retro-brighted and reassembled it with a few other tweaks along the way. Let me show you how it came out and we'll see it working, because if you remember, didn't get to turn it on during the before video. Let's have a look. Good boy. Yes, hello my vacuum cleaner chums. How are you today? Yes, this exclusive Hoover Junior, oh no, anywhere but there, is done. Finished. I feel a sneeze coming on. There might be a cut in the video in a second. Done, finished and ready to show you what it looks like now. And crikey, what a fair bit of work this was. If you remember, it was seized up, the bag wouldn't sit on the top, and yeah, it was just a bit of a mess. So let me tell you how we have fixed it, and we'll start with the top, because if you remember, the cord hook was a little bit ratty and in general it just wasn't very tidy. Well, I have several handles for these. I picked them up for my own U1104 from another collector, and I still have some left. So not only did I just change the whole top piece with a better paint, a decent top cord hook, it also had a really good bulldog sticker on it. So that is an improvement. I just peeled that top bit away, slid the handle down behind it, and then a little bit of glue on the top. So that is instantly an improvement. Also notice that the bag is now sitting where it should. Now this is a problem with anything old and plastic really. It doesn't have to be a vacuum cleaner, but obviously all that little tiny piece there was what held the bag up, but they don't last. Now it's the ideal candidate, if I owned one, for a 3D printed part, because under here there's enough of a gap to sit a bracket in there with the bit coming up, but I don't have a 3D printer, much as I'd love to buy one, several £100 that I haven't got. So I used about 36 pence worth of cable ties instead of. You come say hello? No, he's been a bit jittery today. So, bit of a bodge, but then again it's a reversible bodge. You know, I don't like to do things permanently, so there's nothing glued here. That just loops around part of under here and then comes back up. Does the job fine if one day, by a miraculous miracle, the owner, Mr. Ritchie, finds another top piece, he can fit it with zero damage at all. That's about it really. We still have the Larco plug, although it's a moderner one, so shielded pins, but that's fine. Don't have a movable top cord hook. And even if we did, I don't like moving them because obviously they're very brittle now. All of the plastic is on these things. That's about it for the top really. It's time to bring you back down. Didn't wash the bag, it just got a really good vacuum cleaner out, so the Hoover logo is still completely intact. And of course, inside, I'll check this before we turn it on, is a nice SIBO bag, which doesn't really do much, but stops the inside of the bag getting coated in dust. I'm not one to really care about HEPA flow or HEPA filtration. That's the top side. Let me bring you down and we'll have a look at the bottom, which came up, oh, nearly still on the plug there, put that up there, which came up really, really well indeed. Slightly different colour on this bit, because you can't take that bit out. I know you can take it out, but it's just a different colour of plastic really. There's not a lot I can do about that. It all polished up very nicely. The lens isn't too faded. There's a little bit coming in on the top, but it's not a lot I can do about it. And of course I couldn't really get rid of the damage as such. If you look closely you'll see it, but from afar, yeah, blends into the background very nicely indeed. If we turn her over, we will see that it is now not completely rusty and filthy. The brush roll now spins nicely. It is very worn. The owner has a new one to fit on it, so we don't have to dwell too much on that. But even so, it works okay. And as you notice, oh, I'm going to be careful to not pop the belt off, it turns. Yes, what actually happened was, this is the original fan look. The fan just broke, and obviously that's what was jamming it up inside. As soon as I took that off, the rest of the motor was pretty good. These U1100s have a really thin style fan compared to, you know, the turbo powers of the era, and of course definitely compared to the Hoover Juniors with the metal fans. I mean, probably could snap it off, but as you know, you can't. Despite that having a big chunk out of it, it's still quite strong. That must have had a pretty significant impact to do that. So luckily, it was luckily, because as you know, it was all quite corroded under here. But let me take this off and I'll show you what I mean. Under here was very, very corroded indeed. But now, oh gosh, yeah, we've got to do the back ones, haven't we? Sorry. It's been a little while since I've even touched this. I'm filming the after video once it's been sat for a while. And I forgot that on these, you have to take the back two screws out as well, because all of this forms part of the same thing. And of course, you're only half a thread away. Yeah, it was all really corroded under here, so it actually has a completely different, you know, bit of wiring in there. I had a breaker which I had to use for the fan and other bits and bobs. So this is a bit of a bitzer, but a working bitzer. So as you can see, my wiring is all done. There's no suppressor in there, and bar the other little bit of rust marking here and there, everything else is really, really clean. So yeah, not too bad at all. You can bring anything back from the brink as long as you have the spare parts to fix it, which could be the biggest problem you might face nowadays, to be honest, because even breaker machines are going to start to get thin on the ground. I'm going to do that back up now and plug it in, and I'll show you how she runs. And she runs, well, obviously 100% better than before, because, you know, it does a bit like this. Absolute butt ton better than before, isn't it? It works really well. It even grooms the carpet, despite the brush roll being really quite tatty. It's okay, and if you had one of these, new brush rolls are incredibly difficult to find. No idea where Mr. Ritchie found one. He probably had it stashed away somewhere. But yeah, things like that are becoming an issue now. You can't just, you know, go onto the Hoover website and buy one of those. You couldn't even go onto the older spare sites and buy one. You just have to get incredibly lucky on eBay, really, or obviously another breaking machine. But be careful, because the earlier ones of these had the metal agitator rather than the plastic activator. So yeah, bit of care needed with these, but it goes to show that even a brush roll that looks like that can still really do well indeed. So yeah, there we go. Another very rare Hoover Junior, saved from, well, being thrown away really, because bless it, it was completely trashed. And another one that Mr. Ritchie can add to his collection and use and enjoy. So there we go really. What can you comment on below? Have you got an exclusive Hoover? It doesn't have to be one of these. Any of the others? Tell me below, which exclusive Hoover do you have, and do you like it, and how did you come about it? Because obviously these things, despite being pretty flipping rare, I mean, they didn't sell many, because this would have cost a fair bit more than a bog standard Hoover Junior U1104, and you don't really get anything more bar a headlight maybe and brown. So They weren't great sellers, but of course you could load up your Facebook Marketplace app now and probably find one for £5 being sold as an old Hoover that we found in the loft. Do you want it? So yeah, never say never, but these are certainly a fair bit more rarer than the usual, normal models, as I should call them. So, thank you very much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed, and I, but probably not this, will see you soon. Bye bye.